This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk. This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk. This game has an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.
Are you ready to play a game beyond limits? Well, a guaranteed prize pool of 10 crore rupees at the India Poker Championships Final Table Series 2.0 is giving you the option to do just that. Good evening, namaskar, and welcome. My name is Peter Abraham, and I'm glad to welcome all our viewers to the fourth featured final table of this season. And with a buy-in of 16,500 rupees, the big game has a big guaranteed prize pool of 85 lakh rupees. And this massive prize pool attracted a massive entry of 543 entries. And so the final table is going to be absolutely action-packed. Also, we've reached the midway of the series, and the players have been putting up their points on the FTS leaderboard as well. Remember, there's a prize pool of 30 lakh rupees which is going to be distributed amongst the top 10 players, and the top spot itself will get 10 lakh rupees. And right now, Ankit Bajaj, aka On My Mac, is topping that FTS leaderboard. And to flag off the final table of this 85 lakh guaranteed big game event, I am joined by, of course, a very, very familiar face, a top poker pro who's joining us all the way from Canada. Although he is originally from Idaho in the United States, we have the poker wizard of the international waters, Kevin McPhee, who is joining us on this live stream. Kevin, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's nice to be back, Peter. We had a really fun time covering this tournament last time around. We had a pretty epic heads-up match from Dhirendra Kumar and Kartik Ved. And, I'm looking for a similar final table here. The big games that bring out the highest buy-ins, and the best players. So usually these final tables will be pretty stacked full of poker talent, and this one certainly meets the expectations.
Absolutely, and we will of course take you through the names of those 8 finalists as well. But just to touch upon briefly, Dhirendra Kumar, that's Thiru91, the winner of that big game the last time around in FTS 1.0. In fact, I believe, Kevin, you and Thiru have managed to stay in touch and even done some sessions together.
Well, yeah, I was really impressed with his heads-up play against Kartik, and he made another final table, and I kind of noticed, and it was around his birthday, so I messaged him on Facebook just to wish him a happy birthday, and we got to chatting, and we ended up studying a little bit of poker together on my Discord, and even got some of his friends involved as well, including our chip leader of this event, Goonjan Mall. So pretty cool to see some people I've studied with making the final table. I'll definitely have a rooting interest. I know these guys are very good players, and so it's nice to have a friendship blossom out of the pandemic. So that's been kind of a cool aspect of doing this. One of many cool aspects.
Well, yeah, that is something that I'm sure players are missing live poker a lot. And the fact that, the community is able to connect with each other through even on online means, as sterile as that might sometimes be. But it's a wonderful way for people to still maintain their connections and, of course, improve your game with the kind of study sessions that Kevin McPhee and Dhirendra Kumar have been doing. So it's a wonderful way for players to connect and even improve their skills as we go along. Well, let's not waste any further time and have a look at these fantastic 8 players who've made this final table. Up top, you've got, again, all of these names. Most of them are familiar to the players on the Indian context. There's gmtesting, that's Goonjan Mall, who's playing as gmtesting, and he's got the biggest stack of them all, almost 60 big blinds. That's 3.5 million in chips that he's playing with. Goonjan has a number of finishes and titles to his credit. His latest one being the runner-up in the IOPC July main event, where he won 26.5 lakhs. So this is just going to be one more feather to his cap. And I think, Kevin, you've seen Goonjan. You mentioned the fact that you've studied with him along with Dhirendra. So it should be something that, your thoughts about this particular chip leader and his style.
Well, I mean, he's an up-and-coming talent. I mean, he takes a very academic approach to the game. He's always constantly trying to improve, and he has a fierce passion to constantly keep playing. I mean, that's a winning formula for any professional poker player, just the willingness to constantly improve. And you see him coming with chip leader here. I mean, that's just a testament to how much work he's put in. And honestly, he's one of those players that probably got hurt pretty bad by COVID, because he was about ready to blow up on the live scene, in my opinion. And, you just don't have the opportunity for these live poker tournaments right now. And so we're gonna see these guys honing their skills online, putting work in the lab. And I know he's been doing that, and now he's reaping rewards. So kudos to him. It's nice to see people that work hard have some payoff for it. But, even with chip lead, we haven't had any chip leaders that have come in and won a tournament yet.
Well, that academic approach, as Kevin McPhee says, that Goonjan Mall brings to this final table, it certainly paid off well for him. He's sitting there with 60-odd big blinds, and I'm sure he's going to do his absolute best to reverse the trend of these chip leaders not going the distance. But he should not rest easy, because snapping at his heels is a well-known player in his own right. Lol, this guy, that's Arjun Pasricha, who's got a stack of 2.77 million in chips. Arjun, of course, has won the Spartan Millionaire and the FTS 1.0 main event as well. So Lot of titles to his credit, and he's certainly been at this big stage, Kevin. So certainly going to be putting enough pressure from his end as well.
Well, it's an unforgettable screen name, that's for sure. And definitely, I know for both of us, one of our favorites. And I mean, with the titles he has, I mean, this is what you're going to see in these big games. You're going to see, the regular names that we've seen at other final tables already coming back for more. And I found him super fun to watch last time. He really mixes it up well. It's hard to put him on a hand, and I think with 46 big blinds coming in here, I mean, we should be buckling up for a fun ride, because this guy definitely gets after it, and he's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, I'm sure he's going to keep at it. We've seen some fantastic play by a lot of these players, so I don't see any reason that they will stop now that we are in the middle of the schedule of this FTS 2.0. But again, snapping at Arjun Pasricha's heels is the Batman. That's right, Vivek Rughani playing as Poker Batman 27. I love that name. I love Batman. So Vivek Rughani, he's playing as Poker Batman 27. He's got a little over 2 million in chips. Vivek has done extremely well for himself. One of those grinders from the circuit who has got numerous titles across various platforms. And of course, he's not been a slouch in the live space either, having finished in 88th place. One of the top finishes by an Indian player in the WSOP main event back in 2018. And again, making that even more fun is the next player on our list. That's Pulkit Goyal playing as champion player. He's got 1.8 million in his stack. And Pulkit, of course, won a title at the WSOPC, the 5th title, in fact, in the PLO event. We're playing Texas here at the FTS tonight, but the title that he won was a PLO event, $82,000 plus, of course, that WSOPC ring, which was fantastic, a fantastic achievement for the Indian poker community as a whole. And Kevin, in fact, Pulkit has gone on to win a car from Spartan Poker back in the day when he topped a particular series. He won one of those Jeep Compasses, if I'm not wrong. So
wow,
definitely awesome. A very rock-solid player here.
I guess the name fits for champion player, huh?
Yes.
That's a very impressive win, though, at the circuit events. And really, it doesn't matter so much between 4-card PLO or no-limit hold'em, as long as you understand, the basics of it. You understand, basic hand strengths, but really tournament strategies translate from one format to another. So somebody's really good at PLO tournaments, it's probably pretty reasonable to assume that they're going to be pretty decent at Texas Hold'em tournaments as well. But that's a very nice score for him. I'm certainly jealous. I don't have a ring, and I don't have a medallion either. So he can have 2 pieces of hardware that I don't have. So good luck to him, and I think that'll be a lot of fun to see how a PLO player mixes in with some of these other guys. But I'm sure he's very proficient at no-limit hold'em. So we'll keep an eye out for how he plays.
We're looking forward to watching Pulkit Goyal play on this final table. Next up is Kush, that's Kushagra Mehta. We made a little boo-boo the last time where we thought it was a lady who was actually playing on this particular name, but no, it's not. It's Kushagra Mehta, who's sitting on a stack of 1.2 million in chips. Happy International Women's Day, by the way. Kush, just to sort of revisit that situation. But Kush is definitely no slouch when it comes to these top finishes. 3rd place in the IOPC Destiny, 5th place in the IOPC Elite this year, and of course he made a final table not too long ago in this very schedule of the FTS as well. 32-year-old player from the city of Jaipur. Following Kush, I should say, on that final table is Mad Money 007. I love these nicknames. Really, some of them are really hard to pronounce, but some of them are uber cool. So it's really great to see that. So Mad Money 007 sitting on a stack of 874,000. This player who's called Rohit Singh, a 26-year-old from the city of Delhi. And in the last FTS series, he made some decent runs, netting himself about 1.6 lakh rupees. I'm sure he's looking to better that. In fact, no matter where he finishes today, Rohit Singh is definitely going to better that as far as his FTS performance is concerned, because the min payout today is going to be 1.93 lakhs. So looking forward to seeing this particular play in action as well. And coming to the last 2 players in the list, the shorter stacks, in the mix. That's Soham Pal, who's in 7th chip position, playing as Galafoo. And, well, I just can't help myself. It's just, these usernames, come on, you're just making me do this. So Galafoo, that's Soham Pal, with a stack of 712,000 in chips. He came second in the Spartan Elite for 3.5 lakh rupees not too long ago, playing for the last 3 years and based out of right here where we are in Goa, this 24-year-old player. Last but definitely not the least, although we have limited information about him, sitting on a stack of 10 big blinds, is Ashish Jain, playing as Black Gold. 599,000 in chips behind Ashish on this one. And yeah, that might be a 10 big blind stack, Kevin, but I don't think, like you've mentioned before, it's not something that anyone should take for granted, especially not the chip leaders, because we've seen a lot of the shorter stacks come and even win it, in fact, in the past.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game of these final tables, is the ICM pressure is off the short stack, so they can freely shove as they want. And if they find some good spots, they can certainly spin up. So, you know, it's a great accomplishment, first of all, to all these players to make the final table, to lock up the nice prize, and now be free rolling on the bigger prize in the medallion. So I think there's a sort of a sense of relief, you know, when you do secure that final table, when you're nursing the 10, 12 big blind stack, because you just really want to make it to the point where now people are bust out, you're making big money each pay jump.
Well, I'm sure each of these players is not going to give it up without a suitable fight, be it a short stack, be it the chip leaders. They're all going to get into it without any fear whatsoever. But what we're looking at now is the payouts that these guys are aiming for. And for the 8 finalists at this table, all of them are guaranteed a min payday of 1.93 lakhs. But up top, that sweet, sweet first place prize of 16.44 lakhs. That's what's going the way of the winner of this big game. 16.5 lakhs almost. It's a pretty huge prize that's there. And of course, everyone is assured a payday of 1.93 lakhs. That's the minimum payout at this final table. And it should be very, very interesting to see the action, which is about to start very, very shortly. But it's not just the money that's coming the way of these winners of these events. Like every featured event, the winner takes home, of course, the title and the prize money, but also 18-karat gold medallion. There is, of course, that game face mask and a special gift hamper going the way of this particular tournament's winner, whoever that might be. Our viewers must be wondering what happened to the contest questions. And well, here comes the first contest question of this particular live stream. What is Phil Hellmuth known as? What's he called? What's his nickname? Make sure that you get your answer in there in the comment section along with your Spartan Poker ID. Tag 3 of your friends. And if you get it right, then you could win, well, 3 of you could win a free ticket into the 3-seat guaranteed satellite to the FTS main event, Day 1A. And remember that FTS main event, 2 crores in guaranteed prize pools. There is a serious amount of prize money to be played for. That satellite that you can win a ticket for will take place later this evening at 9 p.m. So make sure you get your answers into the comment section. And who knows, we could be doing a live stream commentary on you. So make sure that you get the answers to your questions in there as soon as possible. Well, Kevin, our finalists are now ready. The 8 of these finalists getting down to the battlefield, so to speak. So it's time to flag off this 85 lakh guaranteed big game tournament for that up top prize of 16.44 lakhs and yet another medallion. I'm sure Sam is watching very, very closely.
Well, I'm really excited for this final table, so let's get into the action. And players, get your game face on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, we're going to be getting into the action really, really shortly here at this FTS big game. The cards, as they say, are in the air, and we should be seeing the action get underway really shortly, and here we go.
Yeah, we have some familiar faces at this final table. I'm sure you remember the screen name Lawless Guy. And
you're not saying it right,
Batman.
Kevin. You're not saying it right, Kevin. It's LOL, this guy. You gotta hit that high note there. And just for the high note, you've got the low note as well in the Batman.
Well, Batman, of course, is Vivek, and I think he's a very well-known player. So there's a lot of really great players at this final table. It should be a lot of fun to see how it plays out. Certainly some conflicting play styles and some short stacks mixed in. So we do have some very short stacks, though, so our eyes immediately are going to be on those short stacks to see if they can double up, maybe get some shoves through, try to accumulate a few chips.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, speaking of the short stacks, that's Soham playing as Galifoo, and he's got 712,000 in chips to begin this final table. Some of those chips have just gone into the blinds where he's at right now. And the shortest stack when this table began, Ashish Jain playing as Black Gold. He had just under 600,000 in chips. But yeah, I like the point that you made about, different kinds of stacks and different kinds of playing styles. So we should be in for a pretty interesting ride, Kevin.
Yeah, we saw Black Gold take an unconventional approach there, 3xing with 8-9 off on about 10 big blinds and be able to get it through. And here we have a pretty interesting confrontation with the 9s versus 10s, cutoff versus button. It's kind of hard to imagine that these there's not going to be some chips going in the pot here. But
absolutely,
with the ICM considerations, champion player just decides to flat with the 9s. I like that play. You don't want to bloat a pot. You don't want to get called by only better hands. And wow,
yeah,
top set on the flop. Pretty dirty flop for the 9s. You're certainly going to be peeling one off here with 9s. I mean, that's kind of the flop you're looking for. The last thing you want to be up against is top set. But we do have some back doors here. 3 to a straight. I'm sure he's going to peel one off. It'll be interesting to see how this turn goes.
Yeah, champion player, that's Pulkit Goyal. And, of course, lol, this guy, Arjun Pasricha. Been there, done that, winner of the FTS 1.0 main event. He ain't going anywhere. And that's a really interesting turn card that we're seeing for champion player.
Yeah, he does turn the backdoor straight draw. So I think this is a really good spot to check back. I certainly can't blame the 10s for checking the turn. I mean, you should have the deck killed here at this point, unless your opponent has a random 9 or spade draw that you need to protect against. But we are going to see a bet here from the 9s. I think that you're just like worried about some overcards coming off, so he's just trying to protect his hand, thinking he has the best hand here, and he's going to really be running into it here. So it'll be interesting to see if this guy check raises here or just continues to slow play. I would be inclined to check raise when the board's getting so wet. It's pretty coordinated right now, and you don't want an action-killing card coming off. So, yeah, we do, in fact, see the check raise.
It's a really healthy pot at this point in time. 1.5 million in the middle there.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to call 4.2 to win 15.6. So, but only one card to come, So 8 outs, one card to come. It's about 16% equity. Not quite getting what he needs to do. Plus, you just don't really have the implied odds when you have a one-card straight draw. If the jack or 6 rolls off, I mean, how are you going to get paid? So we do see him fold down and fold the hand, and that's kind of why I like to see a check back there on the turn. Yeah. It's a disaster when something like that happens, when you bet such a high equity hand, an open-ender, and then have to fold your equity. You're basically kind of just turned it into a bluff. So I would have liked to see a check back there. But he did sniff out that he was against a better hand, so kudos to him there.
Yeah, I like the fact that on the initial street, he kind of dug himself into a little bit of a hole, but champion player going by his name and making sure that he brings all that wealth of experience, finally found his way out of that hand just without losing much more than what he did. But a really interesting hand coming up. Lots of potential hands that could be in the mix here.
Yeah, and Kush kind of stepping out of line here with the 8-6 suited. I think it's a little ambitious. I mean, you have a lot of shorter stacks in you, so this is really the time to hide behind a rock and try to make some pay jumps. All this guy, waking up with the ace-king suited, the perfectly fine hand to just flat as well, but I think 3-bet is a little more standard here. And honestly, with the jacks in the big blind here, pretty gross spot for the jacks. Yeah. I mean, I think queens would probably be in, and I think jacks just might be a fold. And yeah, we do see Vivek lay down the jacks. I think that's a good fold. That I think if you put in the ICM calculations, they're going to tell you that ripping it in there is just going to be a disaster with all these short stacks. So that just shows his experience, very ICM aware, and making, I believe, the correct laydown. I mean, it looks like he laid down the best hand, but you don't want to clash when you're the two big stacks. You both lose money that way. So he avoids that situation, and he's still chilling about over 30 big blinds. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty good stack at the moment for him. So, yeah, there's no real need for him to get into the middle. I think he got a call from Alfred from the Batcave and giving up those jacks. Gross spot, gross hand. Although, of course, our co-commentator, Muskan, would disagree about the jacks. But, hey, we can talk to her later in this live stream about that. But, yeah, another set of pretty good hands coming up here. Ace-Jack for Mad Money 007. That's Rohit Singh who's playing that hand. Followed by Ankush, who's also got another nice ace.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see an all-in here. I mean, you got 13 big blinds. Oh, we do just see a peel. Yes, it's kind of interesting when you're in the small blind in these situations because you don't want to really bust, but I mean, you're getting a discounted price still in the small blind. Some people think, oh, you can't flat from the small blind. You need to like 3-bet or fold. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. You do get a half blind discount for these things. But with that said, I think 13, 14 big blinds, I'd just be in there with the ace-jack against, a pretty aggressive opponent. They both flop the flush draw, the queen a bit easier, and he just goes for the 2x pot shove. Wow. Huge range advantage, 2 overcards, and the queen high flush draw. And he just decides to go for it. It's super hard for these guys to call off, Yeah, and honestly, I think if the ace-jack got in there we would have been able to at least see a fun run out. I don't know if the diamond or the king or queen would have rolled off, but there also is the chance that you still have fold equity pre-flop. I mean, just because you have 13 or 14 big blinds doesn't mean you don't have fold equity. You can still get some reshoves through. I mean, you don't have as much fold equity, obviously, but you can still get some reshoves through. So I think I would have liked to see a reshove there. And here we see Mad Money electing not to shove and going for the slightly over 3x raise with the Queen 10 off. Now, we saw that something similar from Nkush earlier, or Black Gold earlier, where they 3x the 8-9 off instead of shoving on what would normally be a conventional shove stack. So little bit unconventional play here. Some people taking some spots that might be shoves or maybe not even opens and then 3xing. But that's not the worst thing in the world because it makes it so hard for the blinds to defend when you 3x and then you can like raise fold sometimes. It allows you to play some raise folds. But I try not to mix in too many raise folds at this stage of the tournament,
That's true. I also have, I get the feeling that, when good players are playing against each other, the potential to make some unconventional plays increases a little bit more than perhaps in the earlier stages of the tournament. So I think there's that factor also to consider when we're sitting with, some of the best talent at this final table.
Yeah, I mean, these very talented players have studied their shoving ranges. They're not going to make any mistakes there. So maybe 3xing is just kind of a way of, giving them something new to look at. They know how to react to shoves. They know what their calling ranges are. But maybe they haven't studied how to react to, a 3x raise on the final table with ICM considerations. That seems a lot more complicated. So it's kind of a cool play to kind of put those people, those good players at the final table into kind of an uncomfortable position that they're not used to doing. And if you're an amateur player, that's a pretty good thing to do. Make the pros feel uncomfortable, give them things they haven't seen before. But I wouldn't advise that for everybody. Here we see this guy.
Yeah, living up to his username. Just making a very coy call with his pocket kings. And remember, we've got Kevin McPhee on this stream, so there's every possible... Well, almost, Kevin, almost on that flop. The buddy comes along.
I tell you, they always bring a friend, right?
They always do.
Bring a friend.
And that's a nice flop for lol this guy, although I'm not sure he's going to get all that much love, depending on how it goes from here.
Yeah, he's probably not going to get any action here, and actually really seeing Galafu.
That's right.
Just peeling with the ace-8 off there. I mean, you do have some other short stacks there. Peeling is still profitable. I know that traditionally you would just be like, oh, an ace versus a button raise and 10 big blinds, I'm in. But I kind of like just calling there, seeing a flop for 1 big blind. You're getting a great price, and then also, if you do just check fold, you have more hands to allow people to bust for you. So I like that line here. The Queen 9 suited versus the Ace King. This could very well get in.
GM testing, that's Goonjan Mall getting up with a nice hand. It's been a while since he's been playing something, but there you go. That Ace King pays off in a big way, and we have the first casualty of this table here. Galafu, the nice username of Galafu is our first casualty, and that's Soham who's taken 8th place, and he goes home with a payday of 1.93 lakhs. Well played to the young man. It's quite an achievement to come through a field like this. But like they say, close but no cigar. And Soham will have to contend with that prize money that he got. But onwards and upwards for the rest of them, the prizes just got more better for the remaining players here at this final table.
Yeah, and that's a big hand for Goonjan Mall. You know, he's a great player, and you know, traditionally at so far this series, we've seen the short stacks being able to survive and the big stacks not being able to close out. So that's one of the storylines I'm keeping my eye on today. I want to see if GM can hold on to this chip lead. And right off the bat, we see Lawless Guy and GM testing both chipping up quite a bit, and you see some hurt going on these middle stacks. Yep. So yeah, I think my prediction here is probably, you know, GM testing, Lawless Guy, and Vivek. I know it's really brave to step out and pick the 3 chip leaders, but I see those 3 players not making too many mistakes. Of course, anything can happen at these final tables, as we've seen. But yeah, I think the big stacks will have more of an advantage of this final table, and I'm anxious to see if GM can close it out where others have failed.
Yeah, that's a pretty gutsy thing right there that Kevin he's done picking the chip leaders, because the way these final tables have gone by, the chip leaders have not crossed the finish line and taken home the title. So yeah, it's something that, well, we're poker players. We like to make these little bets here and there. So fair enough. That's just one of those things we'll look at. And an interesting flop once again with 2 hands. Goonjan Mall in it again against Enkush. That's Kushagra Mehta playing as Enkush.
Yeah, getting in there with the Jack 9, using his chip lead to his advantage, and kind of realizing that some of the other players are playing a little more conservative. Queen 10 certainly a good defend, and he basically gets his dream flop here. I mean, and gets a little tricky leading out 1 big blind, inducing the raise from the Jack high, so that then he can stuff it in. Yeah. And it works out perfectly well for him. So nice play there by Enkush. You know, we see our chip leaders getting little out of line. It feels like every time our chip leaders try to apply pressure, they just get it. I mean, they just get it right back. You know, It hasn't been working out too well. People just don't seem to. They haven't seemed to be able to get too many folds. You know.
That's true.
And maybe that's just a product of the hands they're playing, but yeah.
I was about to say that it's probably the reason that the kind of hands that have gone down, that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Queen 10's a perfectly reasonable defend there, and I think you're just happy getting in with your 10 high flush draw and top pair, and if they have a better hand, they have a better hand. But nice to induce the bluff there. We see GM getting back in here again with the 10-9 suited. I would expect to see a lot of min-raising out of him. That certainly is the name of the game at this point when you're chip leader. Min-raise, small bets, apply pressure, and constant leverage. You know, the idea that, you know, you min-raise pre-flop, that min-raise has a lot more value than just the minimum raise, because there's the threat of bets on every street. Right. So really at this point, a raise is a raise because it has that implied threat to it all the time. So I would like to see GM just continue, and Lawless Guy just continue min-raising as much as possible. because each one of those actions has the imply of threat behind it. So that's really where the ICM considerations handcuff a lot of people, because it's hard to defend when you're going to face bets that could knock you out of the tournament.
That is true, and as we see it, there's another mixed set of hands that's here. I like what you'd mentioned earlier about Goonjan Mall. That's GM testing, more of an academic approach to the kind of way he plays. And you're right, he's going to use all those very, very solid little tips and tricks in order to make sure that he grinds his way all the way to the end, we hope, or he hopes, certainly. And with his 4-8 off, he decides to do just that.
Yeah, this is actually I think this is actually a pretty good hand to raise with. It just flops so terribly, and you don't want to only raise when you have super good hands. So you want some trash hands here. You want to be a little more polarized in these spots. And of course, we see the A6 suited setting the trap, getting him to the chip leader yet again to take the bait, and in there with the limp shove, destroying his equity and taking down the pot. So a nice pot for champion player. He's up in above 20 big blinds now, and now the blinds have increased to 40-80. So much needed chips for him, and you hate to get snapped off there, but I'm glad that worked out for him. These other short stack here, it'd be a disaster if he got snapped. And here we see Black Gold open limping off of 7 big blinds with 8-6 suited, and this is just something you don't see very often, and when you see it, you're kind of like, what the heck is going on here? And you see the king queen just fold on the button, because you just don't see this kind of play anymore. So
that is
this kind of speaks to what I was talking about before, is like man, yeah.
Wow.
They're just doing things to make the good players uncomfortable. 3xing instead of shoving, limping on what would be a shove stack, and
I think the fact that all of these guys have such heavy resumes is making these players even all the more wary to let's say get a little more creative than they usually would be.
Yeah, maybe that is the case. I mean, we did see. I'm shocked to see the king queen fold there, but GM wasn't fooled, and he went for it with the king jack and got a fold. Wow, GM really applying some pressure here.
Yeah. I mean, as good as champion player is, I don't think, and there you go, folding that hand.
I mean, it's just so hard for champion player to call there. You have the ace blocker in your hand, so it's harder for him to have an ace-x that dominates you. He's going to have plenty of hands that are just going to have to raise fold. There's a lot of pairs that he has to raise fold there, so GM taking the ace blocker, ripping it in, and if he keeps up this level of aggression, this final table might be a little bit shorter than I first predicted.
No, don't do that, guys. We're here to do a little bit of a job, so give us some time to sort of talk to each other about it. I've just been informed by production that Black Gold, the player who's playing as Black Gold, was not Ashish Jain. We made an error there. It's actually Guddu Chaudhary who's playing as Black Gold. And, and as I say it, Black Gold picks up a pair of 4s. Black D Gold, I beg your pardon, is his
Black 4s. I like
Gold.
4s a lot. I'm quite partial to them. I think it's pretty reasonable to see a shove here from Nkush, but wow, gives him the walk. I mean, a suited jack, and it's so hard for him to call. Obviously, we see that he would have called, so avoided what would have been an ICM disaster there, but I think I might have just ripped in the jack 6 suited and ran it. Not so sure.
Back-to-back pairs for Black D Gold once again.
Yeah, and GM opening up the king 10. We certainly were expecting him to be opening a lot of hands, but he's opening it on all this guy's big blind. So this is a spot where I might want to be a little more conservative. You don't want to induce any clashes against the second and chips. Nkush here on the button with queen jack suited has a pretty difficult decision. Probably playing about 13 big blinds, 13 and a half big blinds. Hard to want to shove here. I think all options are on the table. Yeah, fold seems reasonable. You don't want to get in a conflict. I mean, Black Gold has, 6 big blinds there. So you don't want to bust before them. And then just the fact that GM is opening from an early position. Yeah, he's chip leader, but, he's still going to have some good hands here. So I don't mind that fold. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think I'm a little puzzled about what to do there with the Queen Jack suited. I'm not 100% sure what I'd do. Maybe against the chip leader, I'd just rip it in for fun. Try to get that medallion.
Well, hello, Trips.
Oh, wow, yeah, Lawless guy flopping massive. The slot machines on the flop 777. Wow. Always comes 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, GM with the king high, range advantage, pretty standard continuation bet. He's got some backdoors too, you know, he turned in 8, you got an open-ender, couple overcards. Yeah, I think I'd like to see a slow play here.
Yeah, I was about to say that, what would you think you want to do in this situation? And a basic call was my thought as well, but, well, here we are with this pretty heavy raise.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like you really need any protection. And like when second chips check raises the chip leader, I feel like the chip leader should be respecting this to a certain extent. I know this guy has a reputation for mixing it up quite a bit, but when you have the deck so killed, you know, there's so many times your opponent could just have 2 overcards, and when you check and let them hit their overcard, they're now drawing dead. You know, wow! And then we see GM Testin waking up with a real hand here after all of these more marginal ones opening. So,
I guess that's also the advantage of being the chip leader and just keeping on doing those min bet fires, so that when you do actually land one, and it looks like he's gonna get some love.
Yeah, from the ace 9 and no ace on the flop Turner River, and we are going to have.
Well, that is some tough luck.
Another elimination.
And that elimination is, of course, Black D Gold. That's Gudu Chaudhary, who's playing as Black D Gold, out in 7th place. Tried to make a go of it, but one of the shortest stacks now, the second short stack, in fact, to have busted out. He was the shortest of them all, but, well, no traction for him at this final table. And he meets his end of this tournament at the hands of GM Testing with that last hand there.
Yeah, quite a bit different from the last tournament we covered together, Peter. I mean, last time we had our 7th place chip position come in and win it with 7 big blinds. So that was definitely one thing we were looking at today to see if the short stacks could come in and mix it up and make an impact on this final table. But in fact, we had our 2 shortest stacks be our first 2 eliminations, and our 2 chip leaders only increased their chip stacks. So, you know, Lawless guy and GM Testing are pretty deep right now. Wow, look at this play.
Wow.
GM is getting after it. And I just don't see how you can fold a pair flush draw here, and he's going to accidentally have a slightly better kicker. I think I like the 7-6 here, though, because it's going to chop so often, and then you have the flush draw, too. I mean, I can't imagine folding this.
Yeah, this is just...
Especially as the short stack. Wow. He does make the fold. I mean, he had the worst hand, but he had a pretty strong draw. I don't think I'd ever be folding.
Yeah, I'm not that good a player, and I'm definitely not folding in that particular spot. But there you go. That's the reason why these guys are at the final table. They're obviously doing things right. And Kushagra Mehta playing his end Kush, letting that one go, live to fight another day, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of think if you have it in your head, you want to have a plan when you bet about why it is you're betting and what your plan is going to be on future streets. So when you have a pair flush draw, you know, and you bet it, I'm not a big fan of the concept of betting it and folding it. You're destroying all of your equity that way. If you do decide that you're going to bet it and then they jam that you're going to fold, then I actually kind of like a check back a lot more. I mean, you have a pretty disguised hand. You have a pair and a flush draw. They would assume that you'd c-bet that, and now you can, for the same price as a bet fold on the flop, you can check back the flop to call the turn and see all 5 cards. So I'm not a big fan of that play. I'd like to see him hold on to the value of his hand, maybe check back or just bet call. I think bet folding has got to be the worst option there. So, but did have technically the worst hand, just not a play I'm a big fan of. And we see a lot of junk here in this hand.
Junk which has hit in some cases.
Nkush limping again. and then both blinds getting to see a cheap flop. I mean, certainly you're happy in the small blinds getting to see a flop for half a big blind with 10-8 suited. But actually, the Jack-7 is the only one that's flopped the pair here, and he might just be able to check this down and win it. And when you're on that stack, 12 big blinds, and you get to see a flop for free with Jack-7 off and just show it down, that feels like free money. So that'll be a nice pickup for him. In fact, we see him min-bet the Jack-7, being aware that he is ahead and trying to get value from a smaller pair or ace high, and does get value. Also naming his price for showdown. So I like that play from Mad Money 007 there. Rohit Singh, yeah, very nice play. Little blocker bet, a little bit of value bet. And, those chips matter, whether or not it's one big blind or not. Like, winning a pot right now matters to everybody.
Yep. Well, I've just been told that we have a special guest who's going to join us in commentary, and I'm delighted because this is one gentleman whose play impressed a lot of us the last time around, and I'm quite delighted, as is Kevin McPhee, of course, because they've had several conversations after that as well. Well, he's a rising poker star from India. He won the same event the last time. The big game was won by this gentleman in the debut edition of the Final Table Series 1.0, of course. And let me tell you, he satellited his way to the final table. And so far, this young man has scored 60 titles and more than 1.3 crores in earnings. It's a nice place to be. It's a nice situation to be in. Let me welcome Dhirendra Kumar, aka Dhiru91, onto this live stream. Dhiru, welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, hi Peter, hi Kevin, how are you doing? And thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, we're very happy to have you here. I was very impressed by your play last time, and we're hoping to see you at some more final tables this series as well. I'm certainly anxious. It's been a lot of fun doing these series, and one of the silver linings was being able to forge this friendship with Dhiru here. And, I reached out to him after the last series, wished him a happy birthday. We got to chatting. I was like, if you ever want to study some poker together. So we've done a few study sessions on my Discord, and you even brought one of the players at the final table into the group, right?
Thanks to Kevin that he was very kind to offer a few of the coaching sessions, and that had really helped. And I thought, like Goonjan, as one of my good friend, and Anand Rohit, I invited both of them to join the group, and we had several study sessions together. And Kevin is very kind, and he's very helping whenever we have some spot, some doubt. He's always ready to help it out, keep a session, and refresh us through the game.
Hang on for a second, Dhiru. I do believe there is a certain rosy tint to Kevin McPhee's cheeks at this moment.
I see some pocket aces over there.
Well done, sir. Diverting all that attention away. Fair enough. All right. Before we get into some more of this fun commentary, let me remind our viewers of that contest question that we asked you earlier. What is Phil Hellmuth known as? And like I said, he's known as a lot of things by a lot of people. But what we're looking for is that famous nickname that he's well known for. So what is Phil Hellmuth known as? Remember, if you get your answers in along with your Spartan Poker ID, tag 3 of your friends, and if you are one of our 3 lucky winners, you will get a free seat into the 3-seat guaranteed satellite to the FTS main event, day 1A, which starts later this evening at 9 p.m. So make sure you get your answers in real quick, and who knows, you could be one of those winners of that free ticket. And back to the action.
While you were talking, Peter, GM ripped in the ace-5 small blind versus big blind, pretty standard shove. Vivek, Poker Batman 27, woke up with pocket fives, and Goonjan Mall just continues his string of success at this final table, just completely dominating with hyper-aggressive play, and also coupled with running well. I mean, he spikes the ace on the flop, and now he just basically have an overwhelming chip leader. But yeah, I'd like to get back to what Dhiru was talking about. I really enjoy studying poker. When I see people that are passionate about it, that I respect, I just like to have a meeting of the minds so that we can talk about it. Also, I wanted to get more familiar with the Indian poker culture and the Indian poker atmosphere, and these guys have really enlightened me to, they come back and they bring hands and we discuss them, and we're talking GTO strategy, and then we're talking about how to kind of implement that into the meta game, because there's a lot of people playing far from GTO, so how to extrapolate that into exploitive play. And GM and Duru both have brought a lot of value to the table. So not only have they learned from me, but I've learned from them as well. So when you have great poker minds discussing, you can really talk about some really interesting concepts. So it's been overall a very positive experience. Now, Duru, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the path that got you into poker, if you wouldn't mind enlightening us.
Yeah, sure. So I didn't know about poker at all, but Adda 52 has organized one poker event at my college. There I got to know about poker. Then I went to Goa, where I played some cash, and I thought like it's a very nice game if we learn, and then it can act as a good side income. And there, when I started playing poker, I lost a bit in the beginning, but then I got few friends like Ayush Garg, and I also joined poker boot camp, where they taught us so many good fundamentals, and eventually I started winning, and I have these many title or like some good bankroll for playing the poker.
Oh, stop being so modest, Dhiru. What is some? That's a lot. 60 titles, 1.38 crores. Come on, man. You're making the rest of us leisure players feel really bad with that kind of a run. But amazingly well played. We were super impressed the last time we saw you at this final table. And just the way you kind of, went through the field was pretty amazing. Just a reminder of the payouts that have happened. In 8th place, Soham, who took home 1.93 lakhs. Guddu Chaudhary, who was Black D Gold, next to go with 2.72 lakhs. And the latest victim was the Batman, Poker Batman 27, Vivek Rughani, not able to go the distance in this one though, with 3.62 lakhs as his finishing payout. And here we have an interesting hand. Wow.
That is a pretty dirty flop, but of course, all in pre-flop, so very dramatic, But wow, a huge double up there for champion player. I mean, you had the 3 short stacks, all sub 10 big blinds, and I mean, that was very much needed. Wow, Kush, who has been limping quite a bit, now finding the real hand to limp with, limping off of the 6.5 bigs. And I think playing a dangerous game here, allowing to see 9-7 suited and Queen Jack see the flop for very cheap. But it is going to work out this time. Yeah, we've seen Kush open limp, 8-6 suited on 7 big blinds, 3x the 8-9 off from the cutoff, and definitely some unconventional play, but sticking around and surviving and laddering up. So they do take down this pot, and they will be chilling with about 8-9 big blinds now. And personally, I think the King Jack is good enough to shove here. Little awkward with other stacks similar. What do you think, Dhiru? Would you be shoving the King Jack here?
Definitely. But I'll tell you one funny story which like you guys don't know about Kush and Jain testing chemistry. Yesterday or maybe day before yesterday in Challenger event, we were on the same table, and this guy, like he was shoving every hand, 50, 60 bigs, 100 bigs, and every time Kush was winning. And in within 30 minutes, GM testing has taken around 15 to 16 rebuys in Challenger. And he was like, God, like, why? What is this with poker Spartan Baba? He is not letting me any flip against Kush, and he was very furious with him. So there is a very good chemistry between these two guys.
Yeah, that's funny. And well, we see GM there punishing the limp. I mean, he just ripped it in with the Queen 7 off. Yep. So being super ICM aware, recognizing maybe watching the stream on delay, realizing that he had open limp the 8-6 suited there, and just taking any limp as a chance to jam. So, Duru, you won this event last time around, and I'm sure you were very excited for a chance to repeat. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in this tournament this time around?
This time I'm chasing a leaderboard, and currently I'm at a little bit good position in 13th with 1300 points. Yesterday also I tried big game and all other two events of FTS, but unfortunate part was I lost my aces with 8s, and it was like a chip leader pot, and then I got busted around 45 or 50. But still I'm trying my way out. If in the challenger event I bubbled the FT, otherwise you would have seen me in final table, but that's okay. I'm still trying. Today there are 3 more events left for FTS. So,
yes, humble brags by Dhiru91. Well, GM testing really not leaving any room to maneuver here. He's making sure that anyone who's acting a little bit out of line pays for it.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure you talked with GM a little bit about his strategy going into this final table, or know his game fairly well, as you guys seem to talk poker quite a bit and are pretty good friends. What do you think his approach was coming into this final table?
So we spoke this morning only, and where I first of all I congratulated him being a chip leader in a big game, and I told him that I could not defend my title, but I really want you to win it. So I'll be more than happy to see him shipping this event, and he's he has enormous amount of experience with final table, with all sort of final tables, be it super high roller, or medium stack. So I don't need to discuss any strategy with him. He's amazing chap, and with lots of experience and theoretical aspect of the game, which is you will find very rarely in today's industry, only in few people. So I'm sure he is going to ship it, and his game would be play aggressive and play the ranges and don't mess up with another chip leader. And I think the only threat to him would be LOL, this guy. Rest, he can easily take care of them.
Yeah, I would say Vivek would have been a pretty big threat had he been able to secure the double there against GM testing. I mean, he would have had position on him. It would have evened up the chip stacks a little bit. Of course, GM spiked that ace and knocked out a very difficult player. And yeah, we see LOL, this guy, just ripping in 22 big blinds with the ace queen suited. I guess worried that GM is just going to rip on him and he doesn't want to have to call off. Being aware of the ICM considerations and seeing how much GM is, how many hands he's playing. I mean, he's just playing so many hands right now, really applying the pressure. And we haven't seen this yet. You know, we haven't had a chip leader come into one of these events this series and win the event. So that was one thing I really wanted to come in, having studied with GM and knowing that he's a very good player, and him coming with the chip lead. That was the storyline I wanted to see today. If the chip leader could, in fact, come in and apply that pressure, continue accumulating chips, and eventually take down the title. And I just don't see how we're going to see GM fold here. It's only 4 big blinds more.
He will be more than happy. Oh, again, now he will be cursing that why Sparky, why I can't win any flip again and So if you remember, day before yesterday, Ankush folded kings against Mosey Shah. And I spoke to him about that fold, and he was like, dude, I was second out of 7 and I didn't want to burst early. And that's why I didn't take any flip against Mosey. Though I had a very premium hand, I folded kings. So,
hard to be in a flip when you have kings.
Yeah. And I guess Mosey knew about it, that he will fold a lot, and that is the reason he shoved ace-4 off from big blind.
And we're
Yeah,
seeing
we
a
have an
pretty big
interesting
hand.
spot here again, and Kush open limping about 14 big blinds here in the
I know he's good.
cutoff. GM going for it with the fours and gets the better hand to fold. Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, GM is just getting after it. This is quite the masterclass we are watching right now.
Well, you guys have been talking a lot of strategy, and I think it can only get better. Although I think, Dhiru, you're looking a little too comfortable where you are right now, so I'm just going to disrupt that a little bit for you with our next panelist. While I go get some coffee, I'm happy to introduce the next commentator who's going to replace me for a bit. That's, of course, the lovely Muskan Sethi, who's going to join us on this live stream.
Welcome, Muskan. How are you doing today?
Hi, I've been watching you guys, and it's a lot of fun. You're so right that if there's anybody on this final table who can give GM testing a run for his money, it's going to be LOL, this guy. Yeah. So, because I have been watching the table dynamics, and according to me, the player to really watch out today, like if you want to learn and if you want to take some notes, is going to be LOL, this guy for me, because not only has he worked with that whole group of Patrick Leonard and Bitsby staking, but he has Kevin. He's been working. He does at least 5 sims a day. And he's very disciplined. He runs hands on not just HRC, but even all sorts of. So when I don't have an access to a software, I actually call him, and then he'll be like, I fold. And I'm like, oh God, if he folds, then I'm sure it's a fold. And I don't think he's ever been, wrong in those situations. So for me, in fact, last night itself, I was reeling him. When he was running deep, because I wanted to see how he plays, especially his end game. So even though he's short on chips right now compared to GM, I would like to see some battle between these two pros, and also between him and Ankush, because I think even these two have been going at it for a very long time. And Ankush I played with him also in PSL. And Dhiru, you remember, we were together in Deccan. So, Kevin, we are champions, by the way. We won the Poker Sports League.
Well, congratulations. I am also a champion of the Poker Sport League. So we have that in common.
Yeah. Okay, but you wouldn't have been a bigger winner than Dhiru, because Dhiru, met the love of his life the day we won the championship. Dhiru, tell us about that date.
Yeah, it was a pretty awesome date, and I don't know if I could speak about this thing.
So modest.
We ended up discussing poker a lot.
And Kevin, just imagine you're on a date and you're leading your team, and then they become champions, and then you give out drinks on the house to the whole bar, celebrate
I did. Really, I
sounds like a pretty good date. Where do I sign up? Yeah, that's. The PSL is just so much fun. That I met so many wonderful people when I was out there, and you guys, really, the Indian poker community is so wonderful in the way that you guys all seem to work together to promote the game, and everybody seems to know everybody. And there might be a little rivalries or an MMA fight that breaks out every once in a while, but overall, I just love the sense of community you guys have. When I came out to play, and boy, the PSL was just so much fun. I mean, a tournament you get to play as a team event, and then little wristbands that'll get you to drink for free on the boat all night.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good time.
Yeah, Kevin, I mean, it was so nice to see you. It was like an achievement for us, the Indian poker community also, that the international pros were coming and becoming a part of it and taking poker in India seriously. And ever since then, you've been helping out the boys. So thank you so much, on behalf of everyone that you've helped. And yeah, I don't see what's happening. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting hand. That just got checked down all the way, right? King Queen opened from under the gun from champion player. He didn't c-bet the Jack 9 board, and Deuce was able to see the river for free. Mm-hmm. So I would have maybe liked to see a c-bet there with, a gut shot and 2 overcards, plus a massive range advantage opening from under the gun. I think that's an auto c-bet there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed coming out to India. You guys got a great community. It seems like everybody's super passionate. Sometimes even in my my own community, I struggle to find people that are passionate about studying and advancing their game, and it just seems like everybody I meet within the Indian poker community is just super passionate and always willing to learn. And I mean, that's the number one skill in poker, in my opinion. You got to be passionate and you got to be willing to learn. Little humility to go along the way to understand that you don't maybe play perfect, and that there's always something to work on. And I've just seen that sort of ethos from every Indian player I've hung out with. I've become quite close, you know, with a lot of my teammates, Abhinav Iyer, Dirty, you know, Nikita, who helped organize the PSL. You know, just everybody's just been super nice. And then you come out, then Abhinav comes out to Vegas and wins a bracelet right after we win PSL. So
amazing.
That was pretty cool.
I'm saying you've been hanging out in the wrong group. You need to join our Discord channel, and you're going to be playing some crazy Among Us games. So even Hero is a part of that gang, and basically every time we bust out, we just write in, and then that's it. A game is made, and there are like fights break out, especially with Dhiru. Dhiru has a fight with everyone. Like have you played Among Us before, Kevin?
I'm aware of the game. We've tried to. I have a Discord as well, obviously, and I have some friends that have come in from their Discord to try to get some people from mine to go over and play Among Us, and we just haven't been able to do it just yet.
Look at that!
Oh, this guy! Wow, huge double up. Jacks versus, and yeah, GM just constantly on the accelerator there. Big confrontation. I mean, wow. The rest of these guys are all sub 10 big blinds, and lol, this guy has 50, GM 35. Wow, that was just a huge all-in. So yeah, I didn't know lol, this guy was working with BitB staking. That's pretty interesting. I mean,
he started his career with, sorry for interrupting you, but he started his journey with intervention first, Aditya Agarwal. So the first batch that Adi trained, it was all these boys, Aditya, Sushant, all this guy, maybe a few more names, like big names, you know. Oh, I mean, this is anyway going in, but no, come on, Pasricha is just not leaving a single spot. And then, Kevin, so for the longest time, Lord this guy and McFly, so my hubby, they both went to school together. So, like, when I started my poker journey, these boys were around to, help me, bully me, everything. So I used to, get after Pasricha's life to coach me. So then it became, then luckily he needed someone to, pay for his HRC tool. So I said, okay, I'll pay for it as long as you study with me, and I won't take your money, anything. And he's like, I just don't have a paper, just help me out. And then he made me study, and you won't believe it. Like, I started seeing results. I started looking at poker a little differently, and it's just, he is very disciplined, but he's someone who, just like in tournaments, last one to leave, even at parties, he's the first one to arrive and the last one to leave. So he's quite a party animal who goes off the radar for a bit, and then he'll just come back, play a millionaire, and then do well like this. So, it's I get a little jealous of him, actually, that how without working so much, he's...
Yeah, we saw a big all-in here. Sorry to interrupt you, but we had champion player rip in the King 8 suited from the small blind, certainly a reasonable shove, and GM testing having a pretty easy call there with the Ace 10, although he did give it a bit of a fake tank. And the 8 on the flop, and GM testing losing his chip lead and kind of spiraling downward here, starting with that lol this guy double up, and now the double up of champion player. And he is back to middle of pack, but we have Mad Money over here with 2 big blinds. And Kush with about 7 big blinds. It's pretty wild.
Kevin, if GM testing is one of the players who always, tries to attack, that's his strategy, and I like it. Like, a lot of times he calls me off so light from the big blind when I shove. And I'm like, how did he know that I'm shoving into here? And, if he gets a bad beat, then yes, he writes something funny. I love it. But yeah, he's a fun player, and we get to see him a lot in Goa every time there's a tournament. And he's quite a, I like that he's, he's always into reasoning. He'll think a lot, and then if there's a hand that happened like a week before, so next week he might just approach you and talk about it. Like he's that kind of a player. So I like that. And Mad Money.
Whoa.
Perfect. Yes.
Doubling up with the 1.5 big blinds.
A chip in a chair, that's all you need.
Fading the 9-3 suited is tough to do. I'm not very good at doing that one.
Yesterday we had a player who was giving us, me and Sam, a mini heart attack. He had a short stack and he kept shoving all these, medium strength hands and suited connectors, low suited connectors, and we were just like, please, everyone fold. And that's exactly what happened. And Ankush and Walder's guy, both of these guys, is the second time they made the final table in the same FTS 2.0 series. So
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty nice accomplishment for sure.
Yes. And Ankush's name is Kushagra Mehta. This boy has been putting in a lot of work lately. But he's got a different style, and I like it. And let's see, let's see more of good poker from him. I know he's a little unconventional again, but that's cool, right?
Yeah, we see one more player bust here with Rohit Singh going out in 5th place. Mad Money 007. He hit the 8 on the river, but it completed GM's flush, so we'll see him be the 5th place finisher. Very short stack, but he laddered up some, so I'm sure he'll be happy with the result. Interesting hand distribution here. GM testing is definitely going to be open. The A6 suited. Lull this guy at around 30 big blinds. I think you can just shove this hand. It is so hard for GM testing to call. I think this is probably a pretty standard shove. So you said that lull this guy studied under Adi intervention, right?
Yeah, intervention. Then he joined Bitsby for a bit, and then he has been putting in all the work himself. And the player that he lost, Mad Money, yeah, he was anywhere he came in this table like really short. He had 15 bigs. So for him, it's quite a good ladder. He managed to jump up a few places and played some solid poker.
Yeah, for sure. And here we have an ace versus ace blind versus blind. We're going to see a raise and a shove, and I think it's pretty hard. Ace 4 to fall off here.
Yeah.
We do see a fold. Intervention was intervention was one of my first friends in poker. I met him at one of my first international events, and then he lived in Europe for a while. He was living in Prague with Chris Drumbowski and Jim Colopy. When I won the European Poker Tour in 2010, I went and visited them in Prague right afterwards for the celebration. So, in fact, in 2008, Adi and I went and toured Warsaw in the middle of winter, and I don't know what was so funny to me about it, but he's this tiny. He was so tiny and skinny back then, and he was shivering, and he's just like, "This sucks, man," just wanted to get out of there. But he really has become godfather of online poker in India, right?
Of course.
Pretty amazing to watch the development.
This guy has doubled up. Kushagra. I allow that.
It's a simple strategy. Just play nitty and ladder up. That's what he did in kickoff as well. Like he was around fifth in chips or maybe fourth in chips during the FT, and he navigated his way to second place. And I think I can even see him coming in top 3.
Kevin, right now Hero is acting so common. I'll tell you something about him. So he gets into big fights, and basically in Among Us game right now, do you see this guy getting away from this hand before I get on with my story?
Oh wow! You flopped a straight flush. Wow. Yeah, I think he's probably going to get away from this hand, but you might lose a few big blinds here.
flop.
Must be nice to just flop a straight flush and have the guy to lead into you, eh? And I think you could almost check here. I mean, guess you want to charge a club draw, so you probably want to bet and make this SPR a little bit better. Yeah, like a small bet, right? Yeah, so he goes with about third pot. And the straight flush takes it down, as it should. Pretty interesting. And
So Gio is going
testing
to join us in a bit. I think you're gonna go. You have a meeting, right, Dhiru? Because I have to tell Kevin all your secrets, so you gotta leave now.
You can say.
It was really nice having you, Dhiru. Imagine you're not just a player, but also a great combination. So a great combination, and thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dhiru, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have last series champion to come here and join us for the final table of this event and root his friend on. And Dhiru, anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye to you?
I just want to say good luck to gmtesting. I hope you
Oh, okay, done.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and good luck at the rest of the tables. We'll hope to see you at a final table before this series is over.
Good luck, Dhiru.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, and Kush in the small blind here with 10-7. And Kush playing super unconventional style with all this limping and playing super nitty. What is your take on that, Musika?
Yeah, Kevin, this is not like something I'm realizing here. This is something I picked on during PSL when I was on his tables. And I did the mistake of giving him too much credit. And then when later I saw the live stream, I was like, I had realized what he was doing to me. And he is quite an aggressive player. Someone who, I mean, you got to adapt to him. You know, he's not someone you can have like a pre-planned strategy, because even he's adapting. Sometimes you'll see him knitting up. Like, he made such a crazy fold. Like, he's folding kings pre-flop to Gorasud. At the same time, he's taking all these unconventional lines. So he's someone who's obviously putting in the work, but, you know, goes with his gut feeling and the table feel according to the players and stuff. And he has been watching a lot of these players also for so many years, for so long. You know, he's been so before you start playing on the big events, everyone's, you know, looking up to the players, and their game is pretty much out there because they've made so many final tables. So he knows how to attack them, and yeah, I really like that, because not just second final table for him, but I guess he's also gunning for the leaderboard, like Dhiru was. So
Yeah. I mean, you certainly want to get those leaderboard points, and I think it's kind of an unconventional style, kind of throws a wrench into the cog of the plan of these chip leaders. I mean, when somebody starts open limping, that's usually a thing that these good players haven't studied, is these open limping strategies, and it becomes incredibly difficult to range your opponents when they're doing it with such a wide range of hands. I mean, we've seen them open limp and fold sevens, we've seen them open limp 8-6 suited and kings. So it's just like, good luck ranging him, and good luck trying to play against that. And the nice thing about that strategy from his perspective, I mean, I'm not so much of a fan of it. I like to stick to more of a GTO approach. But, you know, you get to choose when you're doing the moves, you know, and your opponents are sitting there guessing. So that kind of gives you an inherent advantage. It's kind of like you get a stick and move, and like a boxing match, you know, you got to kind of dance around the ring. So you're playing a style that you're comfortable with and that you've been doing a lot, you know, Kush in this scenario. And then the other players, they don't play that style every day, whereas you do. So they just don't know how to adapt to it. So it's kind of a interesting way to approach a final table, approach just poker in general, is doing things that make your opponents uncomfortable. And I think there is some value in that, you know?
I completely agree. Like in this hand, I feel the reason why champion player is even thinking about it is because Pulkit Goyal is another reg. Okay, he's been like around for so long, and he's also someone who runs very deep with the same guys. So he knows if there's anybody who could, you know, choose this kind of bet sizing, and I mean, he could possibly have some. Yeah, okay, that was a good.
Yeah, and the sort of theory is people will oftentimes bet those scare cards when a king or ace rolls off on the river and you're facing a pre-flop raiser from early position. They're going to have an inherent rage advantage on when those cards come. So the queen nine, definitely worth consideration there. He had a blocker to the nuts, third pair, and would be expecting a hyper-aggressive opponent to continue firing with some of his ace highs that he feels like if he checks, he's just going to be giving up the pot. So definitely worth some consideration there, but champion player does make the correct laydown. Maybe a little bit smaller sizing with such a strong hand there from GM. I mean, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. These guys have a lot of history, so I don't want to be too critical, but when you have three kings and the board's king high, it's like, what are you going to get called by if you bomb it, you know? You're I mean, up until that point, he hadn't put a check raise in. It's hard to think he has two pair or a set or something like that. So you just want to think about the range that you're targeting when you make these bets. And I think maybe a little bit smaller size there maybe would have been better, but I certainly am not going to question GM. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
How do you know him?
Well, that's what I was saying before you joined the stream, is that Duru and I started chatting last time after his second final table, and I messaged him on Facebook because it was around the time of his birthday to wish him a happy birthday, and we started chatting about poker, and I said, you know, I'm started a Discord, I'm trying to get people into study, and I would love it if you could join Discord and we could do some study sessions together. And we did a couple, and he started inviting some friends in, and GM was one of the friends that he invited in. So we've done a couple study sessions together, and I can tell you, he is super clever. He's got a really good head on his shoulders, and man, he just, like, I'm really impressed with how sharp he is.
Can you see that? I mean, hopefully...
Wow, 6-3 suited, making the straight. That's my favorite hand. Love 6-3 suited. I mean, he's not going to get any action here, but...
yeah.
But yeah, any suited hand there, certainly worth to defend, and just happens to turn the nuts, but GM for once didn't fire and didn't have anything. So Kush with the King 10 suited is going to shove it in here and probably get some folds.
Hopefully. Yes. I was just about to mention something about champion player. So he won the WSOPC PLO event for 82,000 USD plus a ring. How cool is that?
Right. Yeah. We were talking about that with Peter earlier. That's a pretty nice score for PLO. I don't think I've ever had a PLO score that big, but from what Peter was telling me, he's more of a no limit hold'em and plays PLO kind of a little more casually, maybe not as studied at it. So pretty nice score. I mean, a WSOP circuit ring, an 85K score. That's pretty impressive. Certainly a big accomplishment. And it's just a shame with COVID going on that we don't get to see these players competing on the live circuit as well, because it feels like so many of these, big all-in, Kush finding the tens with the double up, GM
breaking his monitor.
Yeah, GM just swinging all over the place. You love to see it. A lot of action. But wow, he is still hanging in second in chips with sub 20 big blinds. So while this guy putting a little bit of distance, certainly has all the ICM pressure. I think we're going to see obviously a shove here from champion player with the ace 9 versus the small blind limp.
Yeah.
Plenty of incentive to just rip it in here. All of these pots matter, now you see champion player just slightly edges out Kush now and taking over third place.
What is the bottom of your shoving range there? In the exact same spot?
That's about 15 big blinds. Well, I mean, it's a little bit different with ICM considerations, but I think maybe the ICM considerations don't matter as much right now. I mean, I feel like I would kind of just play normal GTO shoving ranges there. So versus 15 big blind effective limp, I'd probably be shoving most of my ace X and strong king X. some other. I'd probably trying to shove a more linear range. So not shoving any trash, trying to find some middle strength value hands to shove in, and it's
like
an
below
interesting
pocket
question.
sevens. Yeah, I mean,
I think I would rip any pair.
Yeah,
I would rip any pair, and I would rip a lot of king high, maybe even some queen highs there. But everybody has their own approach to these final tables. It's always the battle between, do I chase the title, do I go for the glory, do I go for the medallion, or do I hang back and try to ladder some more places and put myself in a position where maybe I can get lucky shorthanded, randomly take it down. We see Kush very much adapting this philosophy. He's just sticking around, limping, playing very protective of his resources in the stack. Oh wow.
Oh
Wow. So lull this guy ripping in with the 9-7, getting there against the ace high, and we have our 4th place finisher. Lot of blind versus blind confrontations in this one, right?
That
Certainly seems like it. So
he has taken home. I'm just finding.
Looks like he's taken home 5.9 locks.
Wow.
For 4th place. So congratulations to champion player on the 4th place finish. Very nice result, and hopefully we'll see him back again.
And also some big points for the leaderboard. So
yeah, always a consideration.
See, the 2 players who came in as a big stack are still in there. And they have been able to maintain their lead, which is something, so impressive. And also, like, they are so heavy on the experience, you see, both of these guys. So
yeah, this was certainly what I was looking forward to, is seeing how the final table played out, and then getting into some shorthanded play with some very, very good professionals, and getting to watch them with whole cards up navigate ICM situations and kind of battle against each other. And then we definitely have that here with GM testing and lull this guy getting 3-handed here, and Kush kind of just wow, we might see a call here, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, this is another HRC study spot. Oh, anchor.
Wow. Yeah, GM does call off with the A7. Pretty close spot there, and the Queen 9 gets there.
Hang in there, GM testing.
Let's see. So GM limps the King 9 and flops top pair, and Kush just checking back the Queen Jack suited.
Yeah, I mean, I found that weird too. I guess this is going to be.
Wow. And Kush. Wow. What a hand. He's got to put in half his stack and fold now. Pretty gross.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, pretty interesting hand. I kind of like the check back there with that Queen Jack suited. I don't know what you think about that, Muskan, but
Yeah.
I like checking back connecting hands and suited hands. So when you have a big suited connector like that, kind of the idea is they're going to limp Queen X and Jack X that you dominate. So if you check, you get to play against those hands and keep his range wide. If you raise, you don't want to raise fold. You don't want to just rip it in. So I really like the check back there. If you raise, then you're probably playing against a narrow range of hands that you don't necessarily want to narrow it here, because you want to make sure that they're limping and you get a check and have them see the flop with their worst jacks and queens.
I was saying, I think in the first stream, you said something so important that I want to just I want to remind everyone. You said that, you got to keep things simple. Even in maybe like if you want to go in the end game, if you want to talk about the end game, or, you just said that you got to keep things simple, not try too fancy stuff. So, I mean, that's what we have been seeing on this table. That people are doing that, and yeah, there's a lot of advantage to. I think we're missing out on these hands in our chit chat session. GM testing.
GM testing chipping up a little bit there, and Kush here with the ace 10 suited, 8 big blinds or so, going to be an easy shove. But GM testing pulling back a little bit, putting a little less distance between him and this guy.
Like there was this one. Sorry for interrupting you. I was saying there was this one hand where button shoved and lol, this guy was in the small blind and like he folded king jack. And I mean, like if you're randomly playing and short stacks are shoving, you gotta call that, right? But in the small blind, like Arjun, even though these players know that I am ahead of them, they just make these disciplined folds, and they understand that this field does not require you don't have to do too many exploitative moves. You can just kind of play your cards and just seamlessly get there to the top.
Well, hey guys, I'm back.
Welcome.
And clearly I've missed out on a fair bit of action in the course of the time that I was not here. But as usual, I'm back to answer the contest question and, of course, the winners of that contest who win that ticket into the satellite for the FTS main event day 1A. We had asked you, what is Phil Hellmuth known as? And of course the answer is Poker Brat, like a lot of people know already. Poker Brat is what Phil Hellmuth goes by, as we see this all in from Kush.
Yeah, and we actually saw GM testing shove the king 7 a couple hands ago, and Kush wake up with the king 10 and decided to call it off, made the correct call, secured the double up, and GM testing back to where he was before, around 30 mil, and Kush
Kevin,
right around the same.
Kevin, he just folded sixes here, so I want to ask you, what's the bottom of your calling range?
This guy folded sixes?
No, GM folded sixes to Kush's all in.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kush is just playing super unconventional, so it's hard to range him, and I can't really blame him for that. But GM going for the reshove there with the queen 3 off and running into it, and then next hand getting aces right after you lose your chips. They always do that, right? It's like right after I make the misplay, they give me the
commentator's curse.
So yeah, GM down to about 3.5 big blinds here, and Kush, wow, he just exactly what I said. His plan was just get short-handed, ladder up, get short-handed, and hope things work out. And they have worked out for him so far. So GM only 2 big blinds behind with 2-3 suited. Kind of an interesting spot. I feel like you just have to go with it regardless. And he flops triple deuces.
Wow.
Amazing.
Nice to be in GM's spot. Well, let me quickly tell the winners, mention the winners of that contest. The 3 people who won a free ticket into that satellite: Temin Pannu playing as Temin 007, Shaurya Pratap Pundir playing as Poker Guy 123, and Abhishek Gautam playing as Heart Loss. We feel your pain, bro. These are the 3 winners of that Phil Hellmuth contest question. We'll have one more contest question for you very, very shortly. But let's take a quick look at all the bust outs that have happened so far and who's won what at this final table. In 8th place, the first casualty of this big game tournament was Soham Pal, who took home 1.93 lakhs. And he was followed by Guddu Chaudhary, who took home 2.72 lakhs. Vivek Rughani, Poker Batman 27, taking home 3.62 lakhs for his 6th place finish. Rohit Singh with 4.63 lakhs in 5th place. And Pulkit Goyal, champion player, playing well but not going the distance. 5.9 lakhs for Pulkit, finishing in 4th place. And then there were 3.
Kevin, Peter missed out on that game when they were throwing jokes at us, and they were trying to break our poker face. So I want to do the same to Peter today.
Oh boy.
But I want you to try and crack his poker face, please.
I can't stop smiling now, right now.
I think I got some jokes for you.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find some.
Oh boy.
Yeah, man. I actually did some homework on this because my dad has the best dad
Ooh,
jokes.
all in. And we lose.
Wow. Oh, GM. Jack on the river. Oh, well, a nice run for GM. Couldn't hold on to the ship lead. You know, sometimes you fly too close to the sun and your wings melt, much like Icarus. And I think that's the case here for GM. He certainly kept his foot on the gas pedal the entire final table, really applying max pressure. Got lucky in a couple spots, but then, yeah, really that double up of Wall this guy was just too much to overcome.
Well played.
So, yeah, well played by GM. I'm certain we'll see a lot of great things from him in the future, but this should be an interesting heads-up match between Enkush and Wall this guy. You know, Enkush, I'm interested to see how he's going to adapt to heads-up play now that he's had this very unconventional style leading up, you know, to this point of the final table. Now with just one opponent, I think it's time to start mixing it up a little bit more. Pretty nice flop for him here.
Well, the trend continues. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
When we were playing PSL, and my draw, I would be drawn on Ankush's table, Kushagra's. I would get more scared than, you know, one of the mentors being on my table. I was like, oh, I have no idea how he's going to play. He's such a wild card, you know.
Well, like I said, the trend of the chip leaders not going to the end has continued even in this big game tournament. GM Testing, who had a really, really healthy lead at the start of this final table, the last player to bust out, once more a chip leader, not going the distance. But there are still a lot of tournaments left in this FTS 2.0 series, and we might just see someone break that trend in the course of the coming days. In the meantime, though, if our viewers have stayed tuned with us, there's one more question, contest question that we're going to fire up at you, and that contest question is this. What does the suit clubs indicate? Yeah, I know it's a little bit of an open-ended question, so it'll be interesting to see your answers. But the suit of clubs indicates a certain thing. What is that? Get your answers in with your Spartan Poker ID, and of course, tag 3 friends of yours along with the answer. And if you are one of the lucky players to win, then you will get a free ticket into the 5-seat guaranteed FTS event number 20, the Headhunter, in fact, which takes place later today at 10 p.m. So we're going to be doing a live stream of that. Make sure you get your answers in. And who knows, you could be on that live stream tomorrow where we'll be commentating on some of your plays.
This could be Kushagra's first title. And being
That
up
would be
against,
awesome.
yeah, and being up against someone who's, you know, shipped the main events. I don't know how many millionaires he's shipped on your side. Peter, you only tell us.
Clearly, he's done very, very well for himself and continues to do so. His second final table here, if I'm not wrong, and I think just
For
going
both of them.
Yep, and for going strength to strength. Lol, this guy we know, of course, he took down the main event at FTS 1.0, so certainly absolutely no lack of experience from Arjun Pasricha for the FTS. And who knows, we might just see one more title being bagged, but Enkush ain't going to give it up so easy.
All right, Muskan. So, do you have some good jokes to tell me and Peter here? I have a couple. I got a couple good.
That's my best poker face.
So let's do it, no? Let's just, Peter was the only one who was left out, so I'm going to be the judge. I'm going to watch his reactions.
Oh boy. And I'm supposed to keep like a dead straight poker face while
Game
Kevin...
face, proper game face. Come on, Peter.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not going to be the spoil
I'll
sport.
kick it off here. Why did the old man fall in the well?
Why?
Because he couldn't see that well. No? Nothing?
All right, no, I'm really bad
right.
for this game.
All right. What do you call an elephant crossed with a rhinoceros?
What?
Elephino.
Stop it. This is going to be really hard to manage here. I actually need a mask to like keep a straight face on this one. Kevin McPhee doing his poker homework in more ways than one, and there you have an example of that. But in the meantime, Ankush holding the big slick.
Sick knock joke, please.
A knock joke?
Yeah. Like a really intelligent one.
I mean, all I know is the...
I've been collecting a few.
Kevin's face suggests that he knows some really dirty knock jokes, which we probably can't air in this live stream.
I don't think I know that many good knock jokes. I know the banana one, or orange one, or whatever. Knock.
Who's there?
Knock. Banana.
Banana who?
Oh wait, no, I know. I'm completely. I have no idea what I'm I'm completely butchering this.
We need Sam for this one because he's gonna be super funny. And
do you guys know how you can tell when a joke is a dad joke?
How?
When its punchline is apparent.
Oh boy.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a dark one, I think.
Okay, here we go. Pocket fours, 5 deuce suited. Spicy little 3-bet here, mixing it up. And wow, pocket fours. It looks like Ankush has got some great timing. He seems very aware of his image and how the other players are going to react to him. And he really, really times things quite well. It's been pretty impressive so far. And then also the opening to 3x and 3.5x. It's got to make a strong player who hasn't really studied that a little uncomfortable. And I kind of like that, bloating the pots against a better player, or more experienced player, I should say.
And then every so often he picks up a really nice hand like this ace jack, but no joy.
So I was thinking about taking a job in a mirror factory. Yeah, I could really see myself doing that. No?
Yes.
Okay, I got one last one, okay?
No.
What's brown and rhymes with Snoop?
What?
Dr. Dre.
Nice. That was a nice one. I appreciate that. Most musicians would. So yeah, that was a pretty good one. Rhymes. I should bag that one for the future myself.
Hold that, lol, this guy. You have 7 deuce off. Look at this.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, and Ankush again, his timing is excellent.
Yeah.
Limping, and then they just fall for it, and he just springs the trap.
Is he able to see this live stream for some reason with the cards face up? He's just been getting it bang on almost every single time.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And 2 conflicting styles here. It's a lot of fun to watch.
I had a word with Arjun Pasricha before the final table started, and he was actually looking forward to playing with Ankush only. He was like, I'm looking forward to playing with Kushagra. I like him. So I don't know why he likes him, but let's see.
Well, maybe this time Ankush.
Spicy.
Yeah, this time perhaps not really going his way.
Yeah, stepping out a bit here, and his timing is off for a change. But I mean, this is an auto c-bet board from the button, and he's just playing off his perceived tight image. He's made them lay down some pretty crazy hands. I mean, getting the 5 deuce to 3-betting the 5 deuce and getting the 4s to fold. Pretty nice play, but Queen 8 here is kind of interesting because you have the Queen blocker, which means if you check raise, there's probably going to be less like gut shot floats. And also you have the Queen of Clubs, which blocks some continues. So maybe not the worst hand to do it with here. Sometimes you might call King high in these spots and fold your Queen highs. So kind of taking the top of your folding range and turning it into a check raise so that you have some cards to barrel. certainly he can turn some gut shot straight draws and some backdoor flush draws with that hand. So I kind of like that hand selection. I'm not so sure how much I like just check raising the ace high boards into the pre-flop raiser, but yeah, you can kind of see the logic there. It's just it's an auto c-bet board from the good player, and you know, ace 10 certainly is a hand you're going to continue with, because he's going to have a lot of hands there that he can't continue with, and with the queen of clubs in his hand, there are some turn cards that he can continue on. So interesting play there, for sure. And Kush really mixing it up, and this has been a lot of fun to watch. We were kind of expecting a long heads-up match here, weren't we, Peter?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I think all we said about Ankush's timing on the previous hands sort of coming apart in these last few that we've seen.
Yeah, well, the jig might be up. I mean, he had quite a bit of squeezer vig built up from playing pretty conservatively at the table, and then, you know, once you build up that image, it allows you to kind of exploit the way that other players perceive you. So we've seen him really get out of line here with a few 3-bets heads up, 5 deuce suited, 7-4 offsuit, and he's been getting folds from much better hands. You know, he got ace 7 and pocket 4s to fold so far. So pretty interesting spot. Yeah, interesting spot here. You know, these 4-3 deuce coordinated boards I think are always pretty interesting. We do see the queen 10 just check back and take the free card, and I'd like to see a bet here from Nkush with the gut shot, and we do see him just bomb it. So nice play from him.
Ooh.
Wow. Here I thought the hand was over.
Well, sticking with his username, lol, this guy. And yes,
Yeah,
this guy takes it down. Great play.
That's some street poker right there. Taking it to the streets.
Lol, this guy building his lead up quite well thus far. 9.3 million behind him, with Nkush having a little over 3.8 million.
And this won't be that easy because Kushagra is the dark horse who's going to fight. And I'm sure Arjun has by now seen the live stream. He saw that, you know, when he had pocket 4s, he had so many hands.
Yeah,
He had deuce 5 of clubs, the hand that you were mentioning. So, you know, that hand I'm sure Arjun's seen by now.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably be a little not happy if it's pretty hard to make a pair in heads up play and then to fold a pair and see that the guy had 5 deuce suited.
Yeah.
If he does see that, that certainly will change the dynamic of this heads up match. You know, the veil will be lifted, the veil of secrecy to what Nkush is exactly doing over there will be lifted somewhat.
And also Arjun knows that, you know, it'll be easy for him to chip him down. You know, so that is also like he doesn't have to get into all these big hands unnecessarily against a player that he knows that, you know, he can crush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just makes it a little uncomfortable. You know, you have your game plan going in as the more you perceive the more experienced player, you know, and it just becomes kind of uncomfortable when you have your opponent 3xing and 3.5xing on the button and re-raising, but not reshoving his stack all in pretty consistently. It makes it tough to play, and you can see that Nkush is very much a feel player, and so far his timing has been pretty good, with the exception of a couple spots. So whatever he's feeling it's working so far. And we see the 6s just rip in there. That's a little interesting to me. It's about what, 16 or 17. Ooh.
All right.
Well, I think we're going to see it get in here. This is one of those spots we're going to see who the better player is. They both have the same hand. Yeah, this is just obviously getting in.
Yeah.
And a quick call.
Most likely chop chop, but then stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already had one tournament end with the royal flush, so really,
Yep.
really anything can happen here. I mean, I barely even had hardly any royal flushes in my career, let alone won a tournament with one. So that was a pretty cool moment from the other day. Wow. Well, we might see it get in here.
Pretty hard for both of them to find fold here. Pre-flop at least.
And again with 3.5x open,
Ooh.
all in, and I'm not seeing a fold here.
Oh. And
Yeah,
it.
and lol this guy.
Lol this guy!
Oh, it's this guy.
Congratulations.
Wow. Well done, Arjun Pasricha. Lol this guy, taking down this tournament, the big game title. And there you have it, folks. The end of this big game tournament. Well played by both the finalists there. Up top, Arjun Pasricha playing as Lol this guy versus Kushagra Mehta as Ankush. Pretty interesting final table here. We knew that going in, that, you know, some of the absolute cream of the crop of Indian poker playing at this final table. Muskan, I think, you know, from whatever you've seen over the course of this final table, pretty much went the way it was supposed to, except, of course, the trend of the chip leader not finishing in the top two.
Exactly. They were able to maintain their stacks, and but it was commendable how the short stacks fought their way, and they tried their best. And we saw some really good poker today, and especially for someone like Kushagra, who is a wild card, for him also to, you know, enter the table with just 20 big blinds and then, you know, finishing runners up. That was a very impressive performance. And of course, lol this guy. Let's just once do this for him. You deserve it. Over to you, Kevin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed by lol this guy, and I certainly enjoyed watching Goonjan Mall navigate the big stack. It was a lot of fireworks and just maximum aggression. It was a lot of fun to watch, but his timing was a little bit off. He gave lol this guy that big double up, and that propelled him to the victory. But, you know, this just goes to show that the big game and these higher buy-in events bring out the cream of the crop of these of the Indian poker community, and you're going to see a lot of elite players and some really unique play at the final table. And, you know, I think we were quite blessed getting the heads-up match that we did, because we had two very unconventional styles playing against each other there. Well, conflicting styles, I should say. And I thought it was a really fun heads-up match to watch. So hopefully we'll see more of these players at future events, but that was certainly a very entertaining final table.
Absolutely, and as our co-commentators have said, we expected a lot of fireworks. We did get to see a lot of fireworks and some very, very interesting plays. Just a reminder, once again, it was heads up between Kushagra Mehta playing as Nkush versus Arjun Pasricha as lol this guy. And in the end, Arjun Pasricha going the distance, claiming the title here of the big game for a sum of 16.44 lakhs. And Kushagra will have to soothe his sting with that 10.37 lakh payday. But well played to all of the players on this final table. It was a fantastic game, no doubt. We enjoyed ourselves, and we hope you did too. We will be back, of course, tomorrow with yet another live stream here, along with these fun co-commentators of ours. And till then, it's time to say goodbye from myself, Peter Abraham, and my commentators here with Muskan Sethi and Kevin McPhee. Thank you both for joining us. It was a whole lot of fun. We hope to repeat this and more in the coming few days left. And remember, the bigger tournaments are yet to hit the schedule. The main event, this high roller tournament, there's lots more to look forward to. So make sure you come back and watch this FTS live stream with us here at the India Poker Championships Final Table Series 2.0. It should be a whole lot of fun. We will see you tomorrow evening at the same time. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us.